Hello from Silverstone Circuit in the UK. You join us for the quarterfinals and the semi-finals of the Dirt Rally 2.0 World Series. My name's Andrew Coley. I normally commentate the FIA World Rallycross Championship, which is why I'm here this weekend. Dan Rook's not here. What a shame, Dan. Dan normally joins me on that. Instead, I'm joined by Katie Munnings, who is a rally driver in the European Rally Championship. Katie, how's your season been?
It's been a busy year, full of lots of ups and downs, but that's motorsport. Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching this today, though. I think we're going to have some interesting races.
We are indeed, and we're, of course, trying to persuade Katie that she needs to join the dark side and come across to Rallycross as soon as she possibly can, have a crack at that. So if you're out there with a car for loan, let us know, basically.
Yeah, cool, yeah.
So, yeah, give us a call. Not now, when we're finished would be ideal. So we've got quarterfinals and semi-finals. I say we're getting down. We had 76,000 individual entries. 76,000 entries and 36,000 individuals. So some people tried a couple of times. I was one of those. I didn't make the cut, I'm afraid. So
it's not quick enough.
No, nowhere near quick enough. I'm far too old, I'm afraid. So I didn't make the cut. But we've got some very, very good guys and girls who have made the cut. Now, we've whittled it down to the point we're at quarterfinals. So today we go through semi-finals. Will be in a show in a couple of hours' time. And then the final is actually at the Autosport show next year. So we're going to take our 6 finalists. It will be 2 from each platform, from Steam, which is, of course, PC, PS4 and Xbox. And they're going to be racing it out in front of a crowd on Sunday at the Autosport show, which is, of course, basically the kind of the worldwide launch for the motorsport season, isn't it, unofficially? I know it's here in the UK, but we've kind of nicked that. It's going to be a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I mean, in those environments, you never really know how you're going to respond, what the adrenaline's going to be like, having the crowds there as well. I mean, I'm assuming these guys are playing in quiet, they're able to focus at home, but with the crowds there, lots going on in the arena, it's going to be a really interesting weekend. And we were mentioning earlier that the qualifiers and the entries for this was open, so they could use controllers or they could use the steering wheels, whatever their platform allowed. But actually in the final, it's all down to being on the play seats with the steering wheel in your hand. So it's going to be a bit of adjusting if you've qualified on something else, I think.
Yeah, so we think we've got a couple of controller players in here, although we've also got some familiar names in here from last time out. Of course, we had the last title from Codemasters was Dirt 4. And in fact, our world champion from Dirt 4, Una P, has made it through to this section of in both in rally and rallycross. So we've got some favourites from last time out. We're looking forward to them. We know those guys are playing at home with practically full sim setups, and they're going to be bang up for this. So let's take a look at the format for the quarterfinals and the semi-finals. This is going to get us our 6 finalists. And remember, rally will be tomorrow, so we've got rally and rallycross are separate. So we have 3 groups. We have Group A, Group B and Group C across each of the platforms. So basically it's 12 drivers from each platform have made it to this point. The winner of each of the races. So they're going to do a heat race. So it will be 4 cars in a line, as in the World Rallycross Championship. The winner from each of those races will go directly through to the semi-finals. Now, you can see we're at Estering in Germany for the quarterfinals using the RX2 cars. And then we head to Bikanjaki, Latvia for the 2018 RX Supercars for the semi-finals. So we'll have 3 winners from the 3 races going through. And then the 2 fastest times from those groups overall. So it might be that all the drivers will come from Group A or Group C. The weather will be the same on each platform. So PS4, whatever their weather is, they will all play in the same weather. The same for Xbox and the same for Steam. So that's how that's going to work. And they've also done a qualifying race this afternoon to decide the grids for the quarterfinals. So they will be slotted in on the grids according to where they finished in their qualifying race earlier on today. Now, they can use their time from the qualifying race as their qualifying time if they need to become one of those 2 fastest wildcards, as well as from their race coming up. The weather conditions will be the same from that qualifying race as they will be in the quarterfinals, which you are about to watch. We're going to be getting those underway. You can see then semi-finals. 5 cars, so we're actually running the semi-final in a heat race format, as in 5 cars across the grid. But both these races, the quarters and the semis, will be 6 laps. Now, only the top 2 from the semi-finals will go through to the live finals. That's from each platform, remember. So 2 from Steam, 2 from PS4, and 2 from Xbox. So we're going to get our players in the lobby and get them ready to go. Katie, they've had the notification of what the tracks were around a week ago from the race organisers. So these guys are going to have been pretty busy this week. Well, busy doing only one thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the advantage to playing a game like this. You know, you can practice as much as you can. In real life, it's probably a little bit more different, a little bit more expensive to be sitting there, you know, on the same racetrack every day.
Can I book Estering for a week?
But yeah, exactly. But here, all the time, they're able to be playing 24 hours a day if they want to, in wet, in dry, because obviously they didn't know in advance what the conditions would be. But they have had a practice now, so they do know from the qualifying what their weather will be like. So hopefully they've got their setup setups. That's what's different as well from when they've been qualifying in the last few months. They've been able to tune the cars a little bit, so hopefully they're feeling confident.
And that makes a huge difference as well. So in terms of the qualifying sessions through the consoles, through the different platforms, they've been in a situation where they've had to play a certain stage of the game, and they haven't been able to change any settings at all. So now they can go into full settings mode and very much personalise those cars. They get 2 minutes in the service park to make those changes. In the paddock for Rallycross, of course, service park for rallying. Katie will be here tomorrow to cover the rally as well. And there you can see our drivers. So Alexandra Bottas taking the first to be ready. They'll be waiting the full 2 minutes. The other guys are still in the service area.
He's pretty confident with his setup then, isn't he? He's practiced that a few times. Yeah. He knows what he's going with.
He's gone straight to load setup, hasn't he? And just banged that straight in. Now, interestingly, some of these guys, well, you can see the conditions in the background. This first group is from the Steam platform, and these guys are playing in damp conditions. So the track is damp, but it's not raining. So better visibility, and obviously in theory the conditions stay roughly the same. But to give you the rundown, Unipi's in this one, our current world champion, Luc Fournier, Damien French, and Jan Kundlach. No, I'm looking at the wrong list. Unipi, Alexandru Gabriel Bottas, Jared Pesch, and Thomas Albeck Poulsen. Those guys are in the next race, apologies. So you can see on the left-hand side is their game attacks. So TP No Control is Thomas Albeck Poulsen, ERT Jarrod is Jared Pesch, and then we've got SDL Alexandru Bottas is Alexandru Gabriel Bottas, and Una Pankkonen. Now, Una Pankkonen, in fact, last time the prize was a drive in an RX2 car, which he had earlier on this season. I believe he took it at the test at Lowiak earlier on this year. Great to see drivers stepping across from sim into real life, and that's very much something which can happen these days. We've seen it before with other esports series, and increasingly drivers, as Katie's been saying, it's a struggle to get the cash together to do these various championships. And it's not quite so expensive to do esports if you can get the practice in. So the grid with Thomas Albeck Poulsen on the inside, Una Pankkonen next to him, then it's Jared Pesch and Alexandru Gabriel Bottas on the outside. They pull up to the grid. Remember, only the winner goes straight through, then it's down to fastest time, so you don't want any carnage. We're on board there with the world champion from Dirt 4, Una Pankkonen. Here we go. Ready to race, lights on, left centre of your screen. That goes out, wait for the green light. And we're away. A lot of wheel spin off the line there on board. We go up onto the roof cam with Unipi, and Unipi has lost ground on the run to turn 1. A couple of people going for the round the outside. It's TP No Control into the lead on the exit of turn 1, but 3 abreast on the run down the straight now. It's crucial to be on the inside. Unipi's got the inside line, but drops back into 3rd place. Runs out wide now, desperately trying to hold him to at least P2. Gets a little nudge from the inside there. Katie's been pushed wide. Yeah,
it's so important to stick on the line on that really thick gravel there. You've really got to stay on the racing line. That's where the traction is.
No Control was the winner with a 3:30.496 in the qualifying race earlier on. There's that very important transition from right to left up towards the famous turn 1 from Kevin Eriksson, as we said, the whole round the outside move. And Unipi having a look up the inside now with ERT Jared and him super close behind. Who's got these? Jared still held on to it at the minute, so Unipi trying to find a way through. Now Katie, as well with these fastest times, you know they've got to try and we've been looking down the times earlier on. There's been a couple of our different platforms where it's super close across the various heat races. But if you don't take the win, you need to be getting a fast time. So they're going to have to look at Joker tactics. And in fact, we can see that Alexandra Bottas has gone Joker early in a desperate move to try and get past these guys.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to clear his track, get that open road ahead of him. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult. I think we'll see the guys at the top maybe taking it towards the end of this race. But you can see even the gravel there is starting to break up a little bit. It's very loose surface there. Damp conditions, there might be some standing water as well, which these players are going to be feeling through their controllers. So it is tricky. Damp is probably one of the most difficult surfaces you can run on, because you can really expect very little grip in the wet sections, but also good grip where it's starting to dry out.
It's inconsistent, isn't it? That's the thing. You kind of, as a driver, you really prefer dry or wet, don't you? There's nothing worse than starting a stage or starting a rallycross heat when you're not sure what the weather's doing. Contact on the inside. Jared's hit the wall. Unipi goes through to P2. So Unipi with a bit of a reprieve there. He's right behind TP No Control. So Thomas Albeck Poulsen.
There's a bit of a gap now, 2 seconds between the 3rd place as well, isn't it? So
yeah, just looked like Jared got hooked up on the wall on the inside. Didn't quite see what happened there. This is Unipi. Sorry, we're down at the back of the pack now. SDL Alexandra Bottas, who's running the same livery as Unipi. back in the car into the right-hander. That's
Nice
downhill.
sideways there.
Yeah, and into the Joker went Alexandra Butos there. So this is again coming up towards turn 1. It's the battle out front. Look, there's only half a second between Unip and TP No Control at the front.
It's that fast straight now, isn't it? The downhill section.
Towards the braking zone at the bottom of the hill. I find the RX2 cars quite tricky to drive in the game, I have to say. We're going to see Supercar from Bikaniecki next, which I'm looking forward to as well.
You can see some of that driving style starting to come through with this. You know, he's very sideways, isn't he, the number Alexander there? He's really chucking it in backwards into these turns. That will probably suit the Supercar a little bit better than this. You need to carry the momentum, keep it tidy and stick on the lines with these RX2 cars.
On board now with Unip. The gap's gone up to nearly 7 tenths. It was 5 tenths just a couple of laps ago. So Unip closing in on the brakes. Hugging that Armco on the right-hand side. See the Constantino effect there when you're on the brakes. Not through here, it's so hard, Kate. You've got to get on the gas and look at the way you point the nose towards the wall. Try and keep it out of that outside barrier.
Yeah, it's where about your vision line's going. He's taking the Joker lap as well, but it's quite tight in there. They might have lost a little bit of time with that. Waiting around
the
for
bank, but he's done it. So it is Thomas Albert Paulson who takes the win in this one. Unip gets P2. DiRT Jared after that mistake looked P3, so it's a 330.0.
Like a fast winner there though, 330.3 as well, not a lot in it.
No, exactly, and that's quicker than Unip went. So Unip last time was 331, so he went 7 tenths quicker. And Thomas Ulbeck Poulsen has actually gone 4 tenths quicker. So both Unip and Thomas Ulbeck Poulsen, looking down at our group information in front of us here on the Steam platform, they were, so 333 was the winner of the second, and a but then coming down towards the bottom here, look, 328.4.
Someone's on fire.
Yeah. So Lucas Mateja, who was in our Group C for Steam, which you're going to see later on, it's actually race 7 in this show, set a fantastic time, and at the minute, that would be one of our 2 wildcards, but the second fastest of 330, I think at the moment, would be Unip. So at the minute, Unip might be in a position to be able to grab one of those fastest times. So he's kept it tidy there. Didn't take any risks to try and overtake, because if it's gone wrong and you lose all the time, it's game over.
So what we were saying earlier, especially with this track, you know, it's a closed track. There's barriers, there's Armcos up the inside. There's not a lot of room for runoff or to kind of work your way back on the track. So risking it is pretty risky here. You know, it's not a track where you can see as well. We saw in some of those shots we saw from the driver's cam and their point of view, you can't see a lot. You know, you can't really see the corners opening. It's really about keeping it tidy, keeping on that racing line where you can get those traction to pull you out of the corners.
Absolutely bang on the money. Katie Munnings joining us for commentary here of, I say, the Dirt Rally 2.0 World Series, whittling it down from all our entries, quarter-finals, semi-finals, and then through to the final at the Autosport Show. I'm looking forward to that. I haven't been to the Autosport Show for ages. Have you been recently?
I went last year, actually. Yeah. I saw the WRC launch there, but apart from that, I haven't really had a chance to explore the rest of the field, so it'll be cool to see a bit of e-racing there this year.
WRC still the aim for you long term?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Rally through and through. I can't persuade you to come and do Rallycross.
Well, I'll have a go. I'm up for having a go. Yeah, I mean,
Anyway,
drop that in there, won't I?
Anyone
slide that onto the table.
Most of my co-commentators have either been in a supercar or end up in one. That's what we want, really. Is it? We'll take a buggy or an RX2 car. That's fine, isn't it?
I have to say, it is entertaining racing. I mean, there's always something happening. There's always someone that little bit more sideways than what you can get in rally. You know, these drivers know the track like the back of their hands, so they're sliding it in, they're throwing it about. In rally, you don't know it so much, so maybe you hold back a little bit because consequences.
Different driver style, isn't it?
It is completely that.
Yeah.
Good
and
to have
you
a go
came to
though.
Silverstone, didn't you, a couple of years ago as well?
Yes, I did.
So you've been to the World Rallycross Championship.
Yeah, I was there with Peugeot, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
High intensity.
Yeah, very much. Sebastian Loeb was there that weekend, wasn't he? And the Hansons, I think, as well. Yeah, very cool.
Yeah, it was a very good lineup that weekend.
Right, so this is our Group A race for PlayStation. So we're cycling through the various different platforms so that we can get our next players ready in the lobby for their next race. So we've had our Steam Group A. We're now moving on to PlayStation Group A. Now, Katie, we saw from their practice race earlier on that the PS4 guys have had dry weather selected for them. Now, you say they didn't know, they knew the track a week ago, but they only knew the weather when they did their qualifying race earlier on. But they will have made a setup, won't they, for each of the conditions?
Exactly that. You know, dry. We've actually seen the times that they're a lot closer from the practice session this morning. These dry times, you know, in the wet, there's been a few seconds separating each race. There's been, some spins. There's been some people kind of off into the barriers. Dry is a little bit more predictable. It's a little bit more consistent. So those drivers are really taking advantage of that. It's been some really close racing. So I think this one, if you're not winning your heat, it's going to be very close to be a fastest loser through to the semi-finals for this race.
Indeed. So we've got our grid order for this one. STL Quinto on the inside. Then Iran Girl, Next Box, and Kundo 41 are our usernames. And that is Quinton Del Olmo, Luc Fournier, Damien French, and Jan Koenblack, real names from right to left. So the grid up top right, ignore that, that's not a grid, that's just your timekeeping basically. Off the line again, a little bit of a slow start from P2 there for Luc Fournier.
He's squashed in the middle there, isn't he?
And you can see that everybody trying that round the outside move that's been made so famous, and in fact almost pulling it off there on the outside.
Yeah.
3 cars abreast down the hill. Running wide onto the loose on the outside, that's Next Box. So yeah, big mistake by Damien French, losing time there, giving it the NASCAR move around the grass bank. Pretty lucky to hold on STL Quinto out front. Anybody going to go Joker there? Yes, indeed, into the Joker lap on the very first lap. And that was Iran Girl, so that is Luc Fournier. Luc Fournier's gone Joker on lap 1 and got to do something to try and make up some ground.
Yeah, he's eating into that the rest of the field though at the minute, but he had a clean little road for a few seconds there, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
Worth a shot.
Yeah, dropped just where he didn't want to be. So the mistake from Next Box at the bottom of the hill dropped him off the back of the pack, and then when Luke's gone to the Joker, he's ended up in behind. 0.9 of a second between our top two, that's 2.2 and 2.8 back. But remember that Iran Girl, top right, Luc Fournier has taken the Joker. You can see there. So if you need a little explainer, the Joker lap in Rallycross will take 1 per race. Heat racing, semi-finals, finals, and it's the alternative lap, which is slightly longer taking. I think it's about a second.
Yeah, so I'm just looking at those splits though. Should be able to make that back. He's
come out in traffic though, hasn't he?
He has, yeah.
Oh, mistake there as well. So another mistake. And that's Kundo 41 this time. So Jan Koenblack made a mistake at the bottom of the hill, and that's dropped him into the clutches of the driver behind. Oh, and another mistake this time, a little bit wide on the run into the Joker lap. Keeps it tidy on the wall. The inside and the outside going to try and merge ahead of the two drivers, but sideways up into turn 1. 3 cars super close together, but STL Quinto absolutely miles out in front. 3.1 seconds already, so in theory could Joker now, but we'll probably wait until the last lap.
Yeah, I'd say he would. He needs to make sure that he has a clean rest of the race. He really wants to keep that clean field ahead of him. If he Jokers, then he might come out at the wrong time and be eating the dirt.
Yeah, you can see there the onboard visibility. A lot of these players, remember, play using the onboard camera position. So then if you're in the dirt, just like in real Rallycross, you've got the dirt hindering your view. So Iran Girl and Kundo 41 have both taken the Joker. We go on board now. You can see the positions flicking between left and right. I'm going to look up the inside on the brakes.
Not
quite.
giving an inch.
No, not quite. No mistakes there, holding to the place. Ideal for STL Quinto, isn't it, out front? I said before, if I were at home, because bear in mind, obviously, these guys don't have a spotter, so in real Rallycross, we're using spotters who are able to say, look, you need to go, you've got a 3.1 gap. I'd have a mate there, 100%, watching in spectator mode or watching the stream and being able to give the information back. There's a little bit of a lag, but if somebody says to me, you've got a 3.7 gap, you can ease off.
Yeah, it definitely helps when you've got a team around you. But I mean, for the final, will they have that? The Motorsport show, it's going to be cards on the table, isn't it, up there?
Then it's time for a secret earpiece and a mate on the phone, isn't it?
Now we're getting technical.
Yeah, there's got to be a way. There's got to be a way to. That's what I'd be doing. I'm definitely having a cheeky little spotter somehow. Neil Cole, of course, the voice of the spotter. Oh, contact with the wall, sideways.
Use that well, Use that well. Turned him in.
Flicked it back round. STL Quinto has taken this one. P2, we've got Next Box. And then it's Iran Girl in third and Kundo 41. Yeah, so what was the time? So bear in mind, these guys are in the dry. So last time in the wet, we saw our drivers from Steam taking on wet conditions. They were around the 3:30 mark, but STL Quinto, who definitely was in the Dirt 4 finals last time out, 3:24.2. So the difference about 6 seconds.
That's impressive.
Yeah, about 1.5 seconds a lap from dry to wet.
Yeah, and we're looking at, what are we looking at? Half a mile track here? So
yeah, it's super short.
0.95 kilometres.
One of the shortest tracks on the calendar.
Yeah.
But with one of the fastest straights.
I was going to say, yeah, we have that downhill straight and uphill towards the finish as well. It's really interesting, this one as well, with the Joker lap merging just on the finish. So it's always down to the heat, if you've got a close race up the front, it's right down to the last second to see who who's going to take
and
it.
we had the closest finish ever there, of course, between Matthias Ekstrom and Peter Solberg, which was epic. I remember watching it. Andrew Jordan was on CoComs that weekend, and we were looking out at the pictures. We always look at the pictures. Try not to look out the window. You do get tempted when it's right there in front of you. Looking at the pictures, and they crossed the line, and we couldn't tell. And you're straight away then from the pictures to the timing screen. It was like 6,000. So it was crazy. We looked at it earlier, didn't we? It was mega.
Yeah. It's amazing racing.
Yeah, super close. I like a late Joker lap. You know, the Joker lap at all the new circuits. So, like, we're going to Bikinyeki next for the semi-finals, and the Joker lap there is late in the lap. If the Joker's in turn 1, which we've had at Lyd, and of course we have it at Norway in Hell as well, the field gets split up early in the race. So it can be exciting because people have to make a decision. When the Joker's late, your spotter can be on the radio and tell you what's going on. When the Joker's early, sometimes you've just got to send it on lap 1, because if you've had a bad start, just chuck it in. With
having it late as well, it must be a little bit more intense for the drivers that are in there in that moment. You know, the last lap, they're coming in, someone's taken their Joker lap, somebody else hasn't, and that not knowing, going through your Joker lap must be really intense, you know, to make it to the finish and see, well, as we had it, what did you say, 600?
600, I think it was.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was crazy close. I'm probably wrong, might be 6,000. Someone will let us know. Let us know on
tight.
Twitter. Yeah, you can get in touch, of course, with Dirt Gamer on Twitter. If you'd like to do that, you're more than welcome. You can also get in touch with me and Katie. Just give us a quick search, and if we've got any time during the show, we will do our best to give you some shout-outs or answer some of your questions. If you've got questions, that's fine too. So have a look at this. You can see there is a driver missing. So unfortunately, 2 of our quarter finalists were unable to take part this weekend. So one of them, in fact, was injured, believe it or not. Fair enough. And so they decided they couldn't take part. Not sure why the other driver withdrew. So we've got a 3-car race this time out. And Katie, that helps because less traffic means less carnage.
Less traffic, exactly. In Rallycross, that is so important. You know, that's one of the harshest things about the sport is what's out of your control. You know, if you get spun off, and we've seen it happening in the practice this morning, you know, some of the kind of favourites going into this event have been spun off and they've finished, you know, down the field. And it's just the nature of motorsport, isn't it, at the end of the day? But yeah, this is good for these guys. Good news. Higher chance of getting through to the semis now.
Use the Joker lap to your advantage. You only need to take it once.
There's Neil Cole reminding all the drivers they only need to take the Joker lap once. Should they jump the start, by the way, they get a massive time penalty here. We're not doing double Jokers, so if they jump the start, they will be in a world of... Well, basically, they won't be in the semi-final, put it that way.
Onto the wet now.
Yeah. So this now, on the inside, is Ludovic Lopez. Then we've got Dean Wilson and Troy Wood. So Troy Wood left of your screen. Dean Wilson, we're right behind now. Ludovic Lopez on the inside. VRS El Tioto is Ludovic Lopez. Wilson Racing is Dean Wilson. Dean Wilson with a great start from the middle slot on the grid. Alongside him, though, Troy Wood going up towards turn 1. Troy trying to turn in. Oh, but he gets nudged wide. And then on the inside, cleverly done there. Ludovic Lopez just goes deep on the brakes to push them wide. He's going to be close on the run down the hill though towards the braking zone. Who's going to dare to go latest in these wet conditions? Anybody going to run wide? Just about holds on, goes sideways now, trying to find traction desperately side by side. You can see the positions changing constantly onto the dirt. And this is actually giving into the hands of P3 into the right-hander and coming round towards the out. And in fact, so the 3rd place driver there looked like he was going to go Joker and didn't. And now he's ended up in the barrier, has to spin the car back round.
Oh,
unlucky there. That's Troy Wood. So Troy got lucky there because the 2 cars in front of him got in a squabble, Katie, and he was able to close down. But for me, should have gone Joker there when they were that close together.
Yeah, it would have opened up the field a little bit. You've got to take those chances sometimes, haven't you? You know, getting spun out like that is such a shame in conditions like this, especially in the wet. It's just
and from P3, why not go Joker? You know, you've got nothing to lose really by sticking in there. There's only 3 cars. You're not going to come out in traffic, so that's unlucky. For Troy Boy, will be relying on having had a decent time last time out, but it wasn't. He had his problems as well.
5 seconds down now, I think, on that last split. So.
And was unfortunately was a 3:44 in the qualifying race earlier on. So Troy, unfortunately, there looks like he's not going to make it through to the semis. We'll see though. All still to play for. So Ludovic Lopez has gone Joker. Dean Wilson has not. So we're following Dean Wilson now as he comes up over the crest. Is he going to respond to that Joker and go early, or is he going to be confident and stay out? See, this is another one. Do you respond early, but then have the car behind you for pressure, but know you've got track position, or do you give them time to stick the good laps in and maybe close you down? What do you do?
I guess it's easier to manage. You know, if you go Joker early, then you can see him behind you. You can manage that gap for the remaining laps of the race. But he has got a lead of 3 seconds, so he should be okay. You know, if we're basing a Joker lap at just over a second. He should keep that lead by about another 1.5 seconds.
Yeah, absolutely.
As long as he keeps a tidy run. But wet conditions, I mean, you can see these cars sliding about. It's definitely not easy out there, especially on that loose gravel. It's thick, and it's you need to stay on that racing line. And
a nice onboard there with our P2 driver, which is Ludovic Lopez. Following Ludovic Lopez now, Katie said he's 3.1 off. Quick, you can see very quick, maybe could be slightly closer to the apexes, but we're, they're picking here at people who are the very best at this game, and that's the job, unfortunately. Oh, he's dropped it on the brakes almost, just about manages to grab hold of a little bit of grip in the hairpin and fling the car back into the tarmac section. But that's surely going to have opened the gap. What was it? 3.1. It's 3.4 now, so the gap's gone up to another 0.3 lost.
He's a bit sideways. As we were saying earlier, that might come into play if that's his driving style for the supercars. But, on the grass, he is losing time there. All the time you spend sliding, although it feels fast in the car, actually, when you look at the clock, it's not always the fastest way on track. It's
a good way for a passenger ride, isn't it? You give a passenger ride, you always go sideways, don't you? It doesn't, and they're like, everyone's wow.
It is the unwritten rule.
Yeah, exactly. Passenger rides must be sideways. So Dean Wilson out front in this one, over the crest on the loose. 6th lap, so he's got to drop into the Joker. Here we go, smoothly and straight in. You're looking now at P2. Not going to be near enough. Dean Wilson's going to take this one. You're riding on board with 3rd place Troy. Through that left-hander and over the line. And there we go. So it is indeed Dean Wilson that takes it from Ludovic Lopez and Troy Wood. So what was Dean's time? 3:32.0. So he went many seconds faster than earlier. But the win's the most important thing because that just puts him straight through. So that's what he wanted. I'm just trying to see.
Looking earlier though, we had a 3:30 in one of the practice laps. So the pace is, it's all down to the how much traffic you have, how many incidents you have, what momentum you can carry through the race in these wet conditions. Very detrimental to these drivers, so it's a challenging event for them.
Really tough. Make the least number of mistakes possible. I mean, it's the same as in real life motorsport. We can't stress enough how good this game is. Particularly, I love it. I play it a lot. Not gonna lie, it's the off season.
Still didn't qualify though, did you?
Yeah. Cheers, Katie. Yeah. Dan, where are you? You're welcome back. Come back. No, I didn't. And I tried. I mean, I had a couple of goes to it. You get one shot. That's the thing. So it's the 3 of our. We've got 12, and they're in 3 groups of 4. In each group of 4, 3 are winners. So they were outright winners of their session. And then you've got the one person who has maybe had a 2nd, a 3rd, and a 4th, and they go through overall during the course of that month's competition. So there were ways to get through on consistency, but you've got to be consistently very, very fast. So I'm nowhere near quick enough for that. And these guys are playing, some of them are playing plus 10 hours a day.
That's the way to win championships, though, isn't it, as well? Consistency. It's not always necessarily the guy that's number 1 in each race. I know it's coming down to one race now, but it might be that he's been consistent in the wet, in the dry, in the damp, and his favours, he might be playing to his favours today.
Yeah, sure.
Some
so
of the other guys...
Bikanecki, the conditions are different. Maybe,
exactly.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And 2 different tracks as well. It's a very good point. You might be a pro at one track, but when you're going across the 2, of course, last time we actually had the 2 disciplines in together. So UNP was world champion across both rally and rallycross, which I think is quite a tough ask. The 2 disciplines are very different, as you know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Rallycross is much more about tactics. It's about your joker laps. It's about your road position. You've also got to think about what the other drivers are doing and what their driving styles is like. Rally is a little bit more independent. It's about your setup, especially in Monte Carlo we're going to see tomorrow. It's about your tyre choice and your setup, that's massive out there. It's a difficult rally to survive anyway. So different tactics, maybe a little bit more reserved in your mentality going into a rally. Rallycross full send, I'd say.
Yeah, instant full send, yeah. No time for anything else. See one of our players, he's ready if we run through who they are for you. So RSR Serene Logic is Nigel Cross. Then we've got DNC Scuzzer is Ray Cobbing. RNTZ is Renaud Lovett. And 221 is Daniel Johansson. Apologies if any of the pronunciations are bang on the money. Feel free to let us know on social media. And if you make it through to the final, I promise to get it right there. Okay. Unless you're Timothy-Mazyanov, in which case it'll take me 3/4 of a season to get it right. But let's not talk
Shocking.
Let's not talk about 2013. So on the inside, Nigel Cross, then it's Ray Cobbing, Renaud Lovett and Daniel Johansson. We are behind Nigel Cross on the line. Ready to race, light comes on. Wait for that green and look for the reactions. And it's a good start for Nigel on the inside. Very good indeed. In front of everyone, sideways behind. Bit of contact. 3 cars in the barrier. Nigel Cross clearly out in front. Little nudge in the background there for DNC Scars are trying desperately. That's Ray coming. So Ray from P2 on the grid, dropping down to P4. And that was a disaster. And his start wasn't that different, Katie.
I know. I was just looking at that. There was nothing he could have done in that situation. He was completely sandwiched. And, you know, that's one of the other things about these Armcos. There's no space to use the grass on the outside of the curbs. You know, you are literally stuck on the track, and it's just in those situations, it's down to the other players and how quickly you can get around them.
Yeah, it's horrible, isn't it, as well? Not what he wanted. Where was race at 3:37? Yeah, and the time wasn't great from the qualifying race earlier on, so got to try and fight back, and has done so by going joke it immediately.
It's brutal in Rallycross, isn't it? You know, you've got 6 laps and that's it. You haven't got a rally to work it back.
No.
You know, every little move you make is going to be detrimental to a final result.
I think that's what's interesting when you look at the course of a weekend in Rallycross. You know, 4 qualifying, so you've got free practice. You don't even get much of that. If you're trying to dial settings in, you're looking at 8 to 12 laps. 4 qualifying races, which have all got to go well to stand a chance of making the top 12. If one of them doesn't go well, you won't be up the front of the semi-finals. I think sometimes it's hard to describe to people at home how crucial it is that every stage of the weekend goes well. And it's really tiring. Like a rally, you know, stage is also tiring because the adrenaline goes up and down.
Yeah, it's very difficult managing your energy levels during a weekend as well. You know, they're long events. These drivers, they're in the car, they've got that adrenaline spike, and then they're out of the car. We can see two of our drivers here have already played their Joker lap now.
Yeah.
So
Daniel Johansson's gone in as well and is sitting in P2. So good move by Daniel Johansson, but he's 2.2 back. Who's gone into the... okay, so I think that's Nigel Cross has gone into the Joker lap as well.
No, he won as well, yeah. No.
Yeah, so it's super close between them. So actually, yeah. So Nigel has responded there by going into the Joker lap and has come out in front. I think that was the right decision because if you look, the gap has just come down from 1.1 to 0.9. And this is what we see in World RX so often is if one of the top drivers goes in, the other one responds immediately because you don't want to give them a bigger window of laps to close the gap down.
No, exactly. And I mean, he's got an advantage now. He's at the front. He's got 2 laps to go. He can monitor that. You know, if someone goes for the overtake, he can play that game and he can close that gap. The ball is in his court now. All he needs to do in these damp conditions is stay on that line, keep a tidy race with this Rallycross 2 car, and make sure that he gets to the end and wins this race.
Yeah, keep the door shut basically. At the minute, as say, the gap is down to 0.8, so he's a 1/10 of a second quicker. He won't be looking back. Very little. Might get the odd flash in the mirrors in game, but I imagine he's going to. I mean, he might well be taking a glance as well, of course, at the gap's top right of the screen. But to be honest with you, the way these guys are pushing on, I don't think they have time for much of that.
The point of view as well, it doesn't give much away apart from the road ahead, does it? He hasn't got this spectator view that we're looking at. So just out the front of their cars, what they're seeing today in this race.
Up towards turn 1 again on the brakes, trying to close that gap down. Daniel Johansson chasing Nigel Cross. What's the gap up to? 1.1. So Nigel's managed to get the gap back up by 0.2 of a second. Just a little bit more comfortable.
Renault's going to have to play his Joker lap.
Yeah, he is indeed. So that is, Renaud Lovett.
So do you think that's going to change our podium today, or is it?
No, I think it depends how far back DNC Scuzzer is behind him. No, he'll hold on to P3, but it's not going to be enough to get him through to the semis, I think. Out front, Nigel Cross is going to go straight through. In P2, Daniel Johansson is going to have to wait and see whether or not he gets one of the fastest times, 3:31.4. We can take a look back at the first group. No, I've only got the practice times from that, so there's a 3:30. And at the minute, I'm not convinced that will be quite enough. But I say Nigel Cross is definitely going through with the win. And I say definitely, of course, this is all subject to stewards. As always in Rallycross, there will be inquiries. It's just the way Rallycross goes. Somebody will be getting called to it. Well, then. But the naughty boy step's actually just over here to my left, about 6 feet away. I can throw stuff at them if anybody doesn't like the decisions, but I won't know, of course, until afterwards. They're smiling, roughly, glaring.
Tweet us.
Yeah, tweet us if you want something. If you disagree with the steward's decision, we can write notes and pass them over. But basically, these guys over here, in all seriousness, we've got a race controller who's going to be looking at any incident. And in fact, just like in Rallycross, we have judicial cameras in Rallycross. So if you go to the stewards, you are asked to take your onboard with you, and they will look at it, and then you sit down and go, oh, no, it wasn't my fault. It was his.
Classic driver's book of excuses comes out, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you start leafing through it, desperately trying to find the one that's going to get you through and the other guy out. So if there are any inquiries, we'll get that straightened out before the semi-finals later on today. So if your favourite driver's maybe gone through or you're not sure that later on it could change. So Right, we're waiting for race number 5 of 9. We've got the PS4 coming up next. Group B for those guys going to be racing in the dry. We've got, there you go, there's right on cue. So we've got Martin Limu, ELR Martin. Then we've got Sylvain Laville, a TX3 Smookie, like that one. Corentin van Vega, which is CVW64, and Kilian Del Olmo, SDL Kino. So I'm sure I'm aware of that name. Let me see.
They've made your job easy with these gamer tag pronunciations, haven't they?
Well, they have indeed, yeah. And we have, we've had, yeah, we said last time we need them to start using their real names just to make things a little bit easier for us. And I say we will actually be using their real names on the graphics as well. Yeah. Once we get to the Autosport show.
Yeah, it's bringing it to life, isn't it? Watching them play, I'm going to be absolutely fascinated, I think, to see how these guys handle the pressure, but also stay in their zone. You know, they are on the top level in the world now. They are pros at what they're doing.
Yeah, and some of these guys are looking to earn a living from this. This is important to remember. You know, I don't know if you guys, well, of course you'll be aware of Codemasters' other fantastic title, which is the official F1 game. We have an F1 draft now, and the F1 teams are signing up esports racers basically to be a driver within the team. Fernando Alonso has his own esports team. We've got tons of people who are entering into that arena from Rallycross. You might well be aware we've got some esports drivers in that as well. Sammy Matty Trogan. Some of these guys are competing at the very highest level of sim racing, as well as racing in real life. And Katie, simulators are so important now because it's cheap time behind the wheel.
Yeah, it's accessible, exactly. For these guys, you know, you might not have an entry or might not know how to get started in motorsport, but here you are, one of the easiest ways to do it. What a cool way to be able to do it and to be competitive as well. Real competition. It's awesome.
On the inside then for this one, Kilian Del Olmo, then it's Corentin van Veeg, next Sylvain Laville and Martin Limu. There you can see the grid, Martin Limu on the outside, Kilian Del Olmo on the inside. So Kilian Del Olmo running the classic RX2 livery. Thanks to our partners from Thrustmaster and Playseat, Motorsport Network and Codemasters 2, bringing you the quarterfinals and the semi-finals. Ready to race light goes out. And it's a very even start across the width of the grid thanks to those dry conditions on the inside. Bit of contact again, just got to get to that apex. If you're running from slot number 1, Kilian Del Olmo done a fantastic job there. Got the quickest time last time out in the qualifying race and makes use of that pole. But you've got to get that right, Katie. But it is easier for these guys because it's dry. But remember, of course, everybody playing on the PS4 is racing in dry conditions. I'm kind of hoping these guys might get wet at Bikinieki to even it out, to make it more tricky for them. But it is an even playing field. Oh, on the inside, a little look there.
I would say in these conditions, more than any other conditions that we've seen today, though, the dry, it's impeccable to get a good start off those open blocks because of the dust. You know, look at what they're throwing up behind, and those drivers' point of view, that is exactly what they're going to be seeing, and it's very off-putting. You know, in a rally car, if you catch a car, it's exactly the same. That's what you're seeing.
Yeah, awful. Absolutely zero visibility. Another sneaky look up the inside, but can't quite make it work. That is Martin Limu coming under pressure from Corentin van Veeg.
So down to the start though, you know, we saw Sylvain have a really good start there. You know, he was up, he was almost in P1 going into turn 1. Tried to turn in that little bit earlier and just got nudged out, and now he's kind of sat at the back, but taking his Joker lap, taking that chance. Fair play.
Oh, sideways here. Has he managed to make it stick? No. And again, that's that strange one of being sideways. You think you're up the inside, but you're not, because the car still has that speed to scrub off and traction to find on the exit. Brilliant job so far by Kilian Del Olmo. 2-second plus lead, but just got it done in turn 1. Stopped it on the apex, Katie. If you leave a gap, well, look at the World Championship finale earlier on this year. Half a gap. You know, if you leave half a gap, you can stand to see someone try and slot into it.
Someone's going to take it. Exactly. They're not giving anything away, are they, for nothing in this game? Using every inch of the road there.
Dropping a wheel on the dirt. This might be a move. Smooky up the inside. Job done.
Took the words out of my mouth.
Yeah, seriously, you're getting good at this. I would say Dan's very good as well, to be fair. You're both very good. It's a pleasure working with you youngsters. I know Katie's dad, which is terrifying. That's what makes me feel so old. I've actually known Katie, I think, since she was 10, and she was riding quad bikes better than I was back then when I was working at her dad's farm. We were doing quad bike instructing. Well, Katie wasn't. She was 10. No. That would have been really dangerous. So into the Joker lap goes TX3 Smooky. So that is Sylvain Laville goes into the Joker lap, and we've also had a Joker from Corentin van Veeg. So Corentin van Veeg at the back of the pack now.
That Joker earlier has actually moved him at one place into third now as well. Was in fourth before that.
Look at that gap though, 4.2 seconds now at the front. Delormeau, what was his time? 3:24 in the PS4. Was that the fastest? No, it was super close. So Quinton Delormeau was a 3:24.7. And looking at our third session, it was a 3:25 for Alexandre Hus, SDL Schuder, who you might remember from last time. Oh, another sneaky move, bit of contact almost.
Sideways on the exit at that corner there. You really want to be pointing straight and getting that power going in the right direction down that straight. It's the longest straight of the track, downhill, reaching 6th gear.
One of the fastest places in the World Championship. Now, have I missed something? If we had a driver drop out here, we've got only 3 showing, and our leader is not on the board. I must admit, I was looking down at our entry list just quickly in the times from earlier on in the day. I think we've got, unfortunately, I think we've had the leader of our race disconnected. No. Oh. What a time. No. And he was leading by miles, so Kylian Delormeau disconnected during his race. That is an absolute disaster. His time last time, 3:24.5, would be enough potentially to get him through as one of the fast runners up, depending if anyone goes quicker. So that one goes to ELR Martin Lemieux, taking that, and will not have expected, of course, won't have known that Katie was in. I looked down, you see a bit of information here, you know, I don't remember very much at all, to be honest.
Giving away your secrets now, aren't you?
Me and Katie were playing cutouts earlier with like scissors and tape and stuff. It was great. We've made a very nice thing anyway, which I'm going to tick that race off on. But Kylian Delormeau was out front. Our P2 man was thick in that fight. Those 3 cars were so close together, and actually now it's become the win. But that's esports.
I was going to say, that is, you know, the nature of motorsports as well. Sometimes it's going your way and you retire. You know, you can do it on the road section in rally, on the way to the finish control.
It's gutting.
You know, even on the start line sometimes you see it in Rallycross. It's really gutting, isn't it?
Do you know my worst ever? Well, I didn't retire because we got it fixed, but I was reversing my Vauxhall Nova rally car, so that's an old car, off for the trailer. I broke a drive shaft reversing it off the trailer.
No.
I promise, but we changed the drive shaft.
Oh, did you? I've done a drive shaft on the start line of stage 1 before.
No,
and
stage
retired.
1.
Yeah.
Misery.
Yeah.
That's awful.
That
did you retire immediately, or did the diff get you through a bit?
No. That was my Peugeot 106 days. My dad was co-driving, so I blamed him, actually.
Yeah, definitely Chris's fault, 100%. So we talked about Katie's dad a couple of times. He was my rally instructor when I was 19 years old. So
it's only 10 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah. Katie, welcome back. Chris was my rally instructor, and that was kind of where I first fell in love with the sport. It was a Mark II escort at a rally school near London, and it was great fun, and that was how I got hooked on it. So yeah, I'm sorry. Basically, you can blame Katie's dad, Chris. So this is another hello, Chris, if you're watching. Another 3-player race, and that again is because I say we had a couple of withdrawals. So Ibrahim Moreno Santana, unfortunately, not taking part in this one. He would have been here. So your grid will be Dorian Baptiste, which is DB04, Kristaps Oosfils, which is Oosfils, and Dave Marshall, which is DM Racing 66. Now, what can I tell you about them? I've got a little note from my good friend Luke, who sent me, Project Cars Xbox Champions on across one of the platforms. And DM Racing was a finalist at the Dirt 4 Worlds. Thank you, Luke, for giving me the heads up on those. Getting a few things coming in on social media. Andrew Coley on Twitter for me, and what was it, Andrew _Coley? Andrew _Coley, I can't remember anymore.
I think it's got an underscore in it.
Have you got the same across all of them, Katie?
No, I haven't.
No, it's so
made my life, and I spelt it the French way as well.
Did you?
Don't know why I did that.
Okay, well, there you
Feeling
go.
very European on that day, obviously.
Yeah, you were. Yeah. Okay, so Ibrahim is back. That's great. So we weren't sure Ibrahim was going to make it, and he has. So Ibrahim is our injured man. We think he's got. Do we think it's a broken wrist or some sort of injury to the wrist? Honestly, we've heard too much practice is what we heard. And if these guys are using the force feedback on maximum, how many laps has this man done? And we're about to find out. Did he do the practice? No, he didn't do the practice race earlier. Oh, this is proper last-minute stuff. They've taken the car up. Yeah, one-handed. He's just made. This is Solberg. This was the Estering. So Solberg raced at the Estering a few years ago after breaking his collarbone at the previous round in Latvia. He was wearing a carbon fibre guard to protect his broken collarbone after he'd had surgery. This is what we're going for with Ibrahim. Don't let us down, Ibrahim. Send it. Right. Okay, so the grid, Dave Marshall on the inside, Kristaps Oosfils, Dorian Baptiste, who we are behind, I think. And then on the outside is Ibrahim Moreno. Waiting for the green, there it is, off the line, heading up towards turn 1. Good start on the inside for Dave Marshall. Just got to get it stopped and hope he doesn't get taken out on the brakes. He's on the inside. We're looking at DB04 running wide. But I think Dave Marshall's got the job done on the inside. DM Racing 66, 5/10 of a second lead, heading down towards the hairpin.
Kept it tidy.
Yeah, did indeed. Now, Usfils, where is Usfils? P2. Kristaps Upsvils, that's sounding very Latvian to me. Kristaps, I might be wrong. No, I'm not. I thought so. Thank you very much. Kristaps Upsvils is Latvian. I know my Latvian, been there a few times. You've done a rally there as well, Katie.
I have, Rally Lapaya, one of my favourite events. Amazing gravel, so he will have a good feeling for the gravel.
Yes.
Mark my words, every road connecting towns out there, wide open gravel road, so he should have a good feeling for this.
Up the Latvians. I know you guys are watching. Latvians love Rallycross, I know they do. They've got all their top drivers up there, Balmanis and Nitish, like they're big fans of the sport. Great to see as well.
We've got an early Joker lap in as well from P4.
Yes, so that's our late entry. So Ibrahim Moreno Ibrahim Moreno Santana. My bad, Ibrahim. I'd crossed his name out. That's why, because he'd withdrawn. We'd heard he'd withdrawn. He didn't make the qualifying session earlier on today to decide the grid, which is why he ended up on the outside. But Ibrahim Moreno Santana jokering early. So Divio 4's gone in as well. Dorian Baptiste has gone joker, and he's 3.1 seconds off our leader. But our leader is DM Racing 66, Dave Marshall. Still out front, 3:30.1 was his time earlier on. Looking at the other Xbox times, and I think that was the quickest by some margin, in fact. So Dave Marshall was the quickest earlier on in the qualifying race today, which decided his pole on the inside. Similar conditions to this. Katie, look, he just looks super confident. He's hitting the same marks on every lap.
It's about consistency, isn't it? In Rallycross, he's going to practice this 100% since he found out what track it was a week ago. Not the same conditions, but he would have been finding setups in the dry, in the wet, in the damp. This competition comes around once a year, so those drivers are going to have given it absolutely everything that they can to make sure that they've got the best chance. This competition moves quickly. We've got the quarterfinals tonight and we've got the semi-finals. They had a practice earlier, so they wanted to make sure they were fully prepared for this. Different time zones too as well. We've got an open field, we've got French, we've got Australian, we've got Slovakian, Swedish, Argentinian. They're all going to be, driving and competing at different time zones. So that's another thing to think about.
Hard work
now.
If you're getting up in the middle of the night to race in Australia. It genuinely is. Again, you've done the time zone switch thing, I'm sure. And if you've got to go somewhere and do a job, it's really hard to get in that zone and get yourself in a position where you're not making any mistakes. So we are seeing Dave Marshall do a fantastic job at the moment. Just looking to see where Dave is on our list. He's English, so I guess he would be with a name like Dave Marshall. And that means he's in his home time zone, which is nice. You'd be an hour out. Either way, doesn't really matter, does it? The rest of Europe, Latvia's a couple of hours out, that's fine. But it's once you get sort of transatlantic or heading down to Asia, Australasia, that is not quite so much fun. So
proper dedication.
Big up to anyone who's competing from further afield.
Or watching as well, streaming us live on
Yes.
YouTube and Facebook.
Hit us up on social media. So it's on Facebook, on DiRT, Autosport, Motorsport.com, and the World Rallycross Facebook page as well, and DiRT Game for YouTube too. So Dave Marshall takes this one, a fantastic performance from him. What was the race time? We'll see it when Ibrahim Moreno Santana crosses the line.
29.
3:29.4. So he's gone 7/10 of a second quicker than he went last time out. So that is a great performance. Usfils with a 3:32.3 goes about 1.5 seconds quicker than he went in the qualifying race this afternoon. So will that be enough to see Usfils go through as one of our fastest losers? So the top two who don't win the race will go through to the semi-final later on today. 5 cars in each of those semi-finals, and that's going to give us our couple of finals.
He's going to want to make that through, isn't he? Latvia being the semi-final. He's a Latvian,
yes,
so he's going to really hope.
Got to represent. So we've got just one group left from each of our platforms now. Steam, PC coming up next, then PS4 in the dry, and then Xbox in the rain. So far then, some pretty consistent driving, particularly in dry conditions. Yeah,
I think, as we were saying earlier, it's just more predictable. As a driver, I think you can relax more into it. You can go with the flow. When we see different conditions, even like Monte Carlo tomorrow, if you speak to any driver, they'll say they're constantly on edge. It's not necessarily an event where you can get into the flow, where you can relax and you can just listen to your co-driver. It's the same in Rallycross. You don't know what's coming around the corner, and you've got to expect and anticipate everybody else having a bit of a moment around you as well.
Yeah. I might be heading down to the rally actually next year. Which
really?
Yeah, I might be heading down there. So it's going to be fascinating, isn't it, with all the top drivers swapping teams. I can't wait. What's really interesting is that it's not an event necessarily where you push 100%. So it doesn't actually matter that these guys aren't going to know their cars quite so well, because it's an 80%er, isn't it? Just don't drop it. You look at people who don't drop it, they don't necessarily win any stages, and you can win the event by a mile.
Just like Rallycross, it's down to luck, which takes us into our next race, Group C.
Yeah, so this is our final race from the PC Steam platform. Thomas Aberg, Tomberhawks, then John Bebnovich Harris, Veloce Isa, one of the most prolific drivers on this title and across esports. Maxime Wagner, Rainbow, and then Lucas Mateja, ERT Ciardeses Mickey. There we go. So that's easy to say. Thanks, Lucas. We might stick with Lucas for that one. In terms of the grid, it is in fact Lucas Mateja who's on the inside. Then Rainbow in P2, Veloce Isa, John Bevnoch Harris with I'm pretty sure, wasn't he one of the ones that got nudged wide in turn 1 and then was super quick making the time back up, but has got to get it done here, and that's not going to be easy. So you can see down the left-hand side nationalities. Veloce Isa taking part from the UK.
We have seen it though, some of the guys that, they haven't necessarily qualified well in their qualifying and practice race this morning, but up the inside, this is a track where you can really use that. You can really throw it in backwards and send it into turn 1, and you can still end up coming out, well, like famous Ericsson,
Yeah,
look at him going in P4, I think it was.
It was, yeah.
And then coming out, squashing, almost just laying them in the inside. There's an Armco there, they can't go anywhere.
Veloce Isa was as well one of the winners of our week. So John Bevnovich Harris, desperate here to get a good result from slot number 3 on the grid. So look for the blue and red coloured car. We're only focusing on him because he was, he's one of the most prolific winners in this title, but also did very well last time out on the Dirt 4 World Championship. So what can Veloce Isa do from slot number 3 on the grid? We're about to find out. Ready to race light's going to go out. Here we go. Lucas Mateja on the inside was very fast. Off the line, not too much wheel spin from these guys, tidily done. 4 in a line, trying to find a little gap. And they're all going for around the outside. So Veloce Isa trying to come around the outside of 4 cars, going to get on the gas on the exits. He's going to get squeezed on the Armco, gets a nudge on the Armco, gets fired back into the traffic and drops down to P4. So Veloce Isa dropping to P4 on this first lap. Not what he needed. I was surprised at the way he got the traction on the outside, Katie, but the Armco just squeezed in, and we saw as we changed cameras, he got nudged back into the traffic.
Yeah, it might actually be playing to his advantage there was an Armco there, though, to be honest with you, because otherwise he'd have been in that wet grass on the outside. He would have got bogged down. Is he going to take the Joker lap here, though? It looks like he's gone in.
Got to, yes.
Taking that chance now. I think I would have probably done the same in that situation.
What he's got to hope now, though, of course, is that the other drivers will take their Jokers and not have him catch up with them, because passing is going to be difficult without losing too much time. So out front is Lucas Mateja still. So Lucas Mateja has a 7/10 of a second gap over Maxime Wagner. So holding on to that lead, and 7/10 is decent after a lap. Remember, it's a 6-lap race here. Backing it in, look at the rotation on the car on the way into the corner.
That's also down to the tuning of the car, isn't it? These drivers have set the car up themselves. It's the first time they've done this in this competition. Before, it's been a standard car, standard track, same for everyone. This time, they've had a little bit of leeway on what they want to do. They're feeling, they're following it. And so that's why you can see driving styles are starting to come out in different, some are really tidy in these RX2 cars, some are throwing it in more like how you'd handle a supercar. So maybe they're putting in a bit of practice for the semi-finals later tonight.
Yeah, indeed. They've got to make it that far, though, haven't they? Got to take the win or get one of those fastest times if they're going to do that. And again, look, and you can see, in fact, so the steering inputs within the graphics of the car there, you could see the steering wheel was in one position. He's waiting, feeling that understeer, with a little bit of oversteer on the way in as well, waiting for the car to hook up. It's beautifully done. Look how little the steering inputs are. Super smooth.
Exactly, super smooth. It's the weight transfer, it's the braking, it's the slight turn-in. These cars have got the handbrakes as well that they're playing with and their hairpins. But I think one of the funniest things is to watch these drivers looking out the side window. That's just the rotation they're carrying in, over 90 degrees sometimes into that turn 1.
Here we go.
Looking through the side window.
Here we go again, and again, look at that, beautifully. The consistency here of our leader, Lucas Mateja, is absolutely outrageous. Hooking that front right wheel over that curb, I think it's one of the hardest parts of the track to get right. And again, look how wide he is, but look at the speed he carries through the apex, Katie.
And his front wheels are pointing in the direction he wants to go when he's at that apex, running out wide to the exit of that corner. So he's on that power, getting the maximum he can out of that long straight up to 6th gear. What do we reckon? About 130 we thought he was doing up there earlier?
Yeah. At the bottom of the hill, definitely. Through the right-hander, close to the Armco as you dare. Super close here between Veloce Isa, was stuck behind Rainbow. Rainbow goes Joker now. I think somebody else has jokered as well and hasn't shown up on our Joker marker. Tomahawks has jokered, we're told. I saw a car go in the standard classic RX2 livery, and the Joker marker hasn't come off. So Veloce Isa is up to P2. So it's about whether or not he can close down. He can't. 2.2 is not going to be enough. So he's got to nail this lap and hope that the time is going to be enough to get him through as one of the runners up. Veloce Isa trying to put in a perfect lap here, while out front, Lucas Mateja. This has been an absolutely epic drive, Katie.
It has. He's consistent.
Oh, spin! No! Veloce Isa with a spin as he came down the hill. Ends up chucking it back into the Joker lap anyway. Ah, disaster for him. So Veloce Isa with a problem on the very last lap and isn't going to make it through from that position, I think. 3:32.7 is not a bad time. We'll have to wait. We'll get confirmation for you, I'll say, before the end of the show. But the win there goes to Lucas Mateja with an absolutely perfect run. 3:28.4. And you know what he did earlier? A 3:28.2. So sorry, this is a 2.2. It was a 0.4 earlier. 0.2 of a second between the two runs in wet conditions. That's epic, isn't it?
Well, he's consistent. I'll give him that.
Yeah, but consistent and fast, which is mega. That's a great drive. You got to have a go at this. If you haven't, I think it's on offer at the minute, actually, if I remember correctly. Dirt Rally 2.0 on offer at the moment. Here it is. Look, the lovely logo just behind. Have a look. You can, or maybe you can play it for free as a trial. I can't remember. Check the official Dirt Rally Twitter. They'll set you straight. But it's brilliant title, as I say. You've got to have a go to understand how tricky it is, particularly a track like this. No runoff, wet conditions, and the RX2 cars are quite tricky things to handle.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we were talking about how difficult they are to drive. A little bit, probably more difficult than the supercars. I'm sure you'd agree.
No, you can't make a mistake. You make a mistake and you pay for it. With the supercar, you make a mistake, you just knock it down a cog and nail it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's no hiding with this. You have to carry that momentum on this track, especially here with that long straight. You know, the end speed when you reach that bottom point is a big difference. If you've messed up the corner before, you've lost a lot of speed, a lot of momentum. That really does add up after the 6 laps into your overall time.
Masterclass from Lucas Mateja in that last one for me. Seeing him, following him for 3 laps and watching him through that right-hander just before the last corner with one wheel on the curb every time, just that steering input, beautifully done. So we've seen some great driving here. We'd expect that. We're at the sharp end of a World Series here, so great stuff. Right, we've got 2 more races to go in this session. Next up, we have Group C for PlayStation. Robin Johnson, Zombie Slayer. You must remember him from last time out with the Dirt 4 Worlds. Then it's Loris Pinel, ELR, Olip, Wesley Wickens, that double W, and Alexandra Huss, SDL Shooter, who is another super quick driver. So Zombie Slayer and Shooter are mega quick. Looking at their times from earlier, SDL Shooter took it with a 3:23.5, which was the fastest time across PlayStation. That double W makes content on YouTube as well, so quite how they've found the time to make content on YouTube and practice this game to that extent is pretty impressive. So expect a decent race between these guys. Katie, I think a lot of it, as we've seen, is going to come down to getting the whole shot.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is a hot field today. These times, they're all pretty quick. So, yeah, I mean, this is going to be, I'd say, probably one of the fastest heats that we've got on the PS4 today. Dry conditions. As I keep saying, though, it's all about your start, especially on this dry track. There's going to be so much gravel spray. As a driver, it's so distracting. So I think these drivers are going to be really focused. Not making that jump start, because then they'll get that time penalty. We're not running double Joker laps, as Andrew said earlier. But it's going to be about really making the most in their reactions off the start line. That's what it's down to at the end of the day here.
Now, we mentioned earlier on Usvils, who's from Latvia, and I've had a message come through on social media that he's actually one of the organising team of Latvia RX.
Oh, really?
So he's perfectly entitled to enter this. But my goodness me, if anyone's going to know the track in Latvia, it's going to be Usvils, isn't it? Like, practically living there. I mean, they're on the organisation team. They're not there. They're not there all the while. But that would be good to see, wouldn't it? To see whether or not he can go through. And also, DM Racing and Wilson have been long-time mates, and now they race. So that's good to hear as well. Nice to get your messages coming in. Thank you, guys, as always, for getting in touch. So 2 races to go. Alexandra Huss on the inside, Wesley Wickens P2, Loris Pinel and Robin Johnson on the outside. So Robin Johnson going to go for the round the outside, is he? Can Alexandra Huss hold on the inside?
With a name like Zombie Slayer, I don't think he's going to be holding anything back today.
No, he's not. I
suspect
there must be other titles that he plays, mustn't there, as well?
Oh,
so yeah, good for him. Right, here we go.
Saying that earlier, I'm surprised there's no Stigs.
Yes, yeah. Actually, there was one last year, I'm sure. Oh, pretty even start. Not so good there by Loris Pinel. Dropping back on the inside, though. Alexandra Huss early on the brakes, going to flick the car sideways. Alexandra Huss is going to get the whole shot. Holds on nicely. So Alexandra Huss, SDL Shooter with the lead, heading down the hill We're following the rear car, so it was Loris Pinel with that bad start, ends up down in P4, and it was a tiny margin.
I tell you what, this is absolutely brutal. You know, it's exactly the same. When you're at these events, you see it, you feel for these drivers, and right now, even though we can't see them, we haven't got cams to them, I know exactly what they're going through, and it's that frustration.
And they've been sitting waiting too. That's the other thing. Don't forget, they did their qualifying races a couple of hours ago, Katie. Not only that, they've known they've qualified for weeks, some of them, and this is a big opportunity for them. You know, they're wanting to win the World Series. They're wanting the cash prizes, watching the chance to come to the Autosport Show and race. But it's the honour as well, you know, to be, when you race as much as these guys do, they want to win, and they've had to sit there and wait to do this. The nerves must be really high.
Yeah, I mean, I feel for them. I'm kind of nervous. When I see that start grid come up, I think my driver instinct kicks in, and I feel their nerves too. I'm sure you're the same.
Oh, 100%. Or whenever I'm commentating, like, yeah, I was so nervous in South Africa before the whole weekend, but before the final particularly. SDL Shooter, only 0.6 of a second of a lead over that double W, which is Wesley Wickens. So Wesley Wickens doing a fantastic job here to go forward with one of our favourites here. SDL Shooter taking just a 10th off. Zombie Slayer at 3.1 back, but has jokered and has come out just in front. So clever tactics there. Jokered, but just late enough to come out in front of Loris, who got that bad start. If he jokered one lap earlier, he'd probably be behind Loris and it would be game over.
Exactly. He might be back. Oh, got another joker lap here coming in.
Is that Loris gone into the joker on this one? I think it is. So Loris
kind of cut up on the entries to that one. That was a late last-minute decision, I think, to take that joker lap, but good recovery as well. That's all about instincts.
Yeah, that's the problem. If you make the last-minute decision, you lose that 10th on the brakes or on the way into the corner, and that could be the difference between P1 or P2.
Exactly, because that entry to the joker lap is actually pretty fast, isn't it? When you look at it, you can kind of straight line it out of the exit of the previous turn.
Exactly. Let the car run, basically. Yeah, let it kind of understeer on the way. And Solberg was always spectacular into that joker lap. Never more so than when he needed to take that win off Ekstrom in those final corners. 0.6 of a second. Wesley Wickens is piling the pressure on here to Alexandra Huss. Alexandra Huss out front will surely wait. For me, Wickens has to go joker on this lap now, because if he follows him, he's never going to get past. So I would go joker now, Katie, and get yourself out of the vision of Shooter. Then he's going to be thinking to himself, I've got to push, and you might get a mistake.
Yeah, lap 5 or 6 now is all to play for, but it's going to be tight.
Coming down to the joker, is Wesley going to go? And he doesn't, so Wesley decides to follow. So he must be confident then that these guys are on for an absolutely fantastic time.
Exactly.
If he feels there's been no mistakes, that's the other tactic to take, is try and go through as one of the fastest losers. So
yeah,
Wesley Wickens chasing Alexandra Huss.
He's driven that, he's got that feeling. If he feels like he's been on the limit, then, you know, he might be thinking that nobody else can do better than that. If he hasn't been held up in traffic by other cars, he might be thinking that might be the time to go through. You know, it's a risk taking the joker lap. He might get stuck behind somebody else then.
Yeah, or make a mistake, and perhaps he's happy following as well. So into the joker, look at that, beautifully sideways to the apex. Small mistake from Wesley Wickens in the background. Coming out now to the exit and to the line. Alexandra Huss takes this one. P2 goes to Wesley Wickens. You're on board with Loris Pinel. Comes across the line following Robin Jonsson, who got P3. There it is, 3:23.3. Alexandra Huss goes 0.2 of a second faster than he went last time. And with a 2:24.7, that was a good gamble by Wesley Wickens, because that would have been enough to see him through as one of the fastest runners up earlier on today. I think just about, maybe by a 10th. Oh, it's going to be close. We'll have to get our stewards to have a look at the times across the practice race earlier on, the qualifying race, and this one as well. Super close. Wickens, looking at these, Katie, he could have missed it by a 10th. But I'm not sure, because obviously some of these guys are going to win and go through automatically, and therefore their best time won't count. It'll be the best of the rest. So
exactly. It's going to be tight, though, as we said. You know, across all of the qualifying rounds earlier, they were all kind of in that same second. But as we said, this was a fast heat. You know, we had a 3:23, and the others we've been in 3:24s. So maybe, you know, he will have done enough. He's had a better time, I have to say, than the qualifying. So going in the right direction.
It was, and that was a good decision. So Wesley Wickens, he had two choices. You either risk it on lap 5 and see if you can apply the pressure, get the joker overlap, or you do what he did. He felt he'd made no mistakes. He was hanging on to the back of a guy we know is very good at this title, and so he followed him through. He's got that time. Is it going to be enough to see Wickens make it or not? You'll have to stay with us to find out. We've got one race left to go. It's the final race for Xbox in the pouring rain. Super tricky conditions. Bjorn Hackinson, the Stingray 11. Then we've got Anthony Dollar Bravo, Kamikaze BZH, Enzo Nol Desaldes, a great name. Senzo, is that like send? Do you think? I think it is.
It,
well,
yeah.
I'm saying it is. Sendo, and then we've got Shawnee Ballou. So Shawnee Ballou 77. Shawnee, this is the way you do a username. Well done, Shawnee Ballou. That you see, it says your name. It keeps it so simple.
If everybody did it like that, you
Lewis
wouldn't
Hamilton,
have to do...
44. You know, this is how it works, isn't it? I mean, honestly, you know.
You wouldn't need your scissors and your cutting out
I know,
then, and
look
you're
how much
sticking.
cutting out we've had to do. It's outrageous the amount of cutting out we've had to do here. But,
You've ruined it now.
Oh, sorry, we're on the last race.
No more results for the rest of it.
Screw it up. Anyway, I digress. There we are. Great. Shawnee Ballou for the win. Okay, we're unbiased as the commentators here. Yeah. Where does Shawnee? Shawnee actually qualified on pole. So Shawnee Ballou qualified on pole. Enzo Nol Desandes, Sendo 0133, whatever, 113. See what I mean? Shawnee Ballou 77. Look, we respect all your usernames. Just send it, all right? We want to see a good race.
I have to say, this is a slightly slower heat than what we've seen. You know, we've got a 3:37
in the with the Xbox guy. Oh yeah, okay. So they're going to need to up the game. Yeah, and a 3:30 look as well.
So we might only see the fastest go through here. It might not be a case of fastest loser.
Well, it depends. Did they have too much contact? Because there was the one race, wasn't there, that we saw this afternoon, the practice race, that you guys didn't see those at home, but we're watching them here. Was there a lot of contact, and is that why these guys couldn't do the times earlier? Or are the other guys quicker? So maybe just the win will go through here. Who's it going to be? Who's your money on, Katie?
Ooh, shall I close my eyes and then pick?
Go on.
I went for Senzo.
Okay, cool. I'm going to go for Shawnee Ballou.
Are you?
Yeah, he won earlier, so it's, you know. Oh, no, I've never been very good at
playing the safe game now, aren't you? It's a bit
boring. Yeah, I know. I used to have a fancy Rallycross team, but it was embarrassing how little I appeared to know about the sport. So I never won anything. So terrible performance. Right, here we go then. Pole, let's say Shawnee Ballou. Here he is with the classic RX2 colours on his car. Next to him, Enzo Nol Deslandes. Is either of these two going to get the start they need? Ready to race light is about to go out. Wait for the green. Here we go. On board with the pole man. Got a good start. Got to get it stopped at the apex and hope nobody gets around him. He's on the inside line. Oh, a little bit of contact between Senzo. Senzo goes up the inside. So Senzo up the inside to maybe take the whole shot. Shawnee Ballou going to drop down to P2. Ballou trying to come down the outside of the braking zone towards the bottom of the hill. Can't quite as he got cars up the inside. Spin in the background. Contact. They've gone round. Shawnee Ballou as well. There was contact with Senzo. Ballou goes back into the lead. Senzo goes round. Oh, mistake from Senzo. Senzo runs wide, puts it in the wall. Kamikaze, BZH. So carnage in this last race. Super sideways. These three cars at the back have all had moments. Shawnee Ballou is leading. It's Stingray, isn't it, who's chucking it about. Stingray is it trying to have a look at the inside, but Shawnee Ballou still out in front. Shawnee Ballou 77 from the whole shot, but mistakes from a number of drivers, particularly down at the bottom of the hill and coming back onto the go. That was a messy start.
There is definitely a theme running with these wet races, isn't there? You know, there is carnage happening in the first few laps.
Particularly that first corner, we got to take a chance and try and get through. Shawnee Ballou, I think, might have taken out the passenger side window as well, and I wasn't quite sure. It looked like it a moment ago, coming around through the left-hand side. Of course, the cars do have damage on. No, he's okay. He's maybe got away with it, can't tell. Sideways and in. He's got a nice line on the way in. It was a similar line that we were seeing earlier on, wasn't it, from our man Lucas Mateja. But I don't know whether the lap times are going to be there or not. We'll find out at the end of it. Well, one of these guys is going through regardless, Katie. So you've just got to win this, haven't you? And I think with the number of mistakes on lap one, the chances of one of these guys being fastest runner-up are not that high.
Yeah, as we were saying going into this race, it was going to be a tight one anyway. They weren't quite on the pace. Even if they'd had a few problems, you know, they were a few seconds down from the qualifying heats this morning. But, you know, that would be playing psychologically. They'd be wanting to turn that around. He is absolutely throwing that in sideways coming into that corner, but losing a bit of time as well. Yeah,
tricky, isn't it? Mike getting it on the outside here on the run down towards the bottom corner there, side by side. Puts a little squeeze on, contact between them. Shawnee Ballou, of course, has taken his Joker lap already. Stingray hasn't. Oh, runs a bit wide, and this is going to cost Shawnee Ballou, although if he wins, it won't matter, but he's going to tap it in the wall. Double wall tap for Shawnee Ballou up the inside. Kamikaze BZH tries to make the pass. Don't think he quite made it stick. They're both running the same liveries. We've just cut, and I can't quite tell. Wait till they cross our next timing point. So Shawnee Ballou still in P2. Couldn't be closer between them. Senzo 0113, Kamikaze BZH is in P3. So it is those two, I think, who are running the same livery. Coming down the hill in the background, there's 2 cars side by side. Again, Stingray runs wide at the hairpin, gets a bit too sideways. But he's got a 2.2 second lead over Shawnee Baloo. He could get this done, you know.
I tell you what, that tarmac on that corner looks properly slippery, doesn't it? I don't know if he just kind of maybe grabbed the handbrake.
Oh, spin! We've got a spin. Kamikaze BZH goes round on the gravel section. On the lock stops, trying to bring that back. Stingray's gone Joker as he come out in front of Shawnee Baloo. I think he has. So Stingray went Joker with a lap to go, and he's 1.2 seconds in front of Shawnee Baloo. These two racing now for a place in the semi-finals. The last race of our qualifying here has really come to life. Shawnee Baloo's got to try and find a way past Katie. He's really late on the brakes.
Oh, yeah, see, but it's just that mid-corner, isn't it? It's there, absolutely laterally sliding round there.
Last place you can have a look is up the inside on the dirt. Here is he going to go for it, door to door. He's going to hope that Stingray runs wide, but he doesn't. So it's a good move. Bjorn Hackinson's going to hold on for this one. Takes the win. Shawnee Baloo in P2. Then it's Senzo and then Kamikaze BZH. So it is.
Don't think it'll be fast enough, will it?
No, Bjorn Hackinson's going to go through as the winner with Stingray 11. It's Bjorn Hackinson P2, Shawnee Baloo. Then we've got Senzo, which is Enzo Nol Deslandes. And finally, Kamikaze BZH, which was, where's our man? There is Anthony Dolo. So 3:36.8, similar time to what they did earlier on. But they were racing, and that's the big. We do like a race.
We do.
And a win puts you through. So a win's a win. That doesn't matter. We know the other. What's interesting to find out is whether or not Bjorn Hackinson has the pace when he's not involved in a race, Katie, because when you're door-to-door like that and you're losing time, 10th here, 10th there, second mistake, contact, yeah, we're going to have to wait for the semis to find out.
Yeah, I mean, as you're watching this from the driver's view and from the aerial shots, you can see that they've got it, you know, you can tell. They know what they're doing with these controllers at home. They've all got it, and you can see the way that they're handling the cars and throwing it into the turns. It's just the luck of the draw sometimes. It's your road positioning and how sandwiched you get on that opening turn, especially, I think, in the wet.
Quite a few passengers at points there. There's nothing worse when you lock up and you're like, no, because you know you're going to tag the car in front. As I say, all these results are provisional. I'm just going to tick off the last race. There we go. All these results are provisional until we get past our race stewards who are over to my left. They're going to be looking at anything which are in appeals. So all the drivers are in a chat room together. So we're getting them in lined up, and then they put their appeals in. Then they get the old onboard cameras, and we inspect those. That last one, I reckon, he might be busy. What do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say, as a driver, you try anything, don't you?
Yeah,
you know,
of course,
and
you have to.
It's frustrating as well, especially in Rallycross, more so in rally. It's external factors. You've got the changes in grip to contend with. You've got the racetrack, but also not just what you're doing; it's what the others are doing. And if you feel like you've been treated unfairly, then of course they're going to be raising it. It's
a very different sport, isn't it? The rally and the Rallycross. The rally part, is down to the gravel side of things, and the fact that we used to use Rallycross sometimes for Rallycross. So it's a great sport, and the other people bid it. So I was a rally background, had a few goes at Rallycross. It's brilliant having the other cars around you, but it is frustrating. 'Cause I got fired off in the first corner, and you hear all this, but I don't know, the two disciplines, they're intrinsically linked too. Someone like Solberg, when it rained, he could just send it straight away. The feel you get from driving a rally car, that seat of your pants ability to adjust.
That's it as well, isn't it? It's constantly adjusting to loads of different changes in grip, loads of different scenarios. You might have snow, you might have sunshine, you might have rain, all in the same stage that you've got to deal with. Here, they're having to deal not just with that, but with the others. Who's taking their Joker lap when? Does that mean he can sneak up the inside when they join back together?
The pressure.
It's keeping an eye on the others.
Seeing the other car. You never see the other car rallying, do you? Unless they've had a shocker.
And I think, especially on esports, that's even more difficult than in real life. You haven't got the other cars around you, the spatial awareness that's there. It's developed visually. They're so strong, these competitors, at just seeing what's happening on the screen, getting glimpses of other cars, looking at the split times. It's more like an engineer almost.
Yeah. Totally.
How they handle those changes in situations. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, good stuff from the quarterfinals. Semi-finals will be coming up later. We're waiting on getting our results across to you. We'll be able to tell you who's through. And then what have we got in the semi-finals later on? I think we're heading to Latvia. We're going to be in the supercars, so we're talking 600 horsepower all-wheel drive. It's a longer lap at Latvia, and it's a very different kind of surface, Katie, we were talking about earlier. This is super loose gravel, whereas Bikinieki is a much firmer, more solid gravel base.
Yeah, so that's kind of almost a little bit more polished. I say the surface underneath that gravel, but it should mean it's a bit more consistent, I'd say, as well. It's not going to be so rutted. It's not going to be so dug up towards the end of the races. So a little bit more predictable, really.
Yeah.
But yeah, amazing race. I'm sure the drivers are excited to swap to the supercars. I think that's the car they've probably been growing up on. It's been their favourites. It's definitely the properly sideways style. That little bit more power as well.
And that's one of the things, actually, track degradation is one of the things which has come in, particularly on the rally side, into Dirt Rally 2.0 from the previous title and also Dirt 4. So we had Dirt Rally, then Dirt 4, now we're on Dirt Rally 2.0. I'm sure there'll be more cool titles coming. But yeah, so we've got stage degradation as well. So you can run first on the road and you'll get a completely clean stage. And then the further back you go, the more the stage gets rutted up. So the game's been absolutely brilliant. And it's been a pleasure working with the guys at Codemasters and you as well, Katie. It was great fun. Thank you.
It was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, really good. Yeah.
Maybe next year you'll qualify.
No, I don't think I will. I don't think I will. I suppose I could go over there. We've got a seat over there. I could go over there. You could take over while I was in the semi-final.
Oh, yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
going to make it, am I?
Have a practice in your dinner break.
I'm not going to make it. It's no question. It's my esports career. I think I have to stick to this side of the microphone. Even that's arguable, to be honest. Average. I hear cries from the crowd. So we are lining up. We are lining up to say who's going to make it through. So remember, the winner of here's our list. Look, this was our list of people. 12 on each of the different platforms, so it was...
It's a few, isn't it?
Yeah, so we've had the Steam at the top, then PS4, then Xbox. From that, to say it was a winner from each of the weeks, and then an overall person who'd done the best of the non-winners across the 3 weeks went through. They went through into 3 groups of 4 here. The winner of each of those races has gone through, so 3 people are through to our semi-final, and it's not a semi-final as in Rallycross, it's a semi-final as in our esports competition. So they will be starting in a line in Latvia. Those 3 winners will be on that grid, and then we're going to have the 2 fastest people from the same platform. So the 2 fastest runners up from Steam, the 2 fastest runners up from PS4, and the 2 fastest runners up from Xbox will be through to the semi-finals. Then it's top 2 through to the Autosport show in January. Mega. Come and see a load of motorsport and get stuck in. It's going to be good.
It's going to be really exciting. Seeing it live is going to be a completely new experience for loads of people,
Yeah,
I think,
absolutely.
as well. It's,
Yeah.
it's a new thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, we had our final last time for Dirt 4. We had the final at Silverstone at the FA World Rallycross Championship, and I remember going into the big hall. There were spectators standing there watching the Autosport show as well, particularly on Saturday and Sunday. The crowds are going to be huge. I think it's going to be interesting. I think people are getting into esports so much more now. They're seeing how accessible it is and how much it relates to the real sport. Again, look at this track. I've been to Estering loads of times. This is visually exactly what it looks like to be there. And in fact, the weather is pretty similar as well, to be honest.
The rain is that?
Yeah, pretty much. We have had a dry year, but it's pretty rare. So what's your plans for next year? Are you still working on it?
Plans for next year, yeah, working on it, yeah. Be in a rally car, though.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll drop into a Rallycross car now, being recommended.
Yeah, we'll get
Just
you
check
on that.
my phone, see if...
We'll get you, we had any offers come in? Oh, no. Oh, we've had a few things come in, but yeah, okay. So...
yeah, no, we'll stick with a full season in rally, I think, for next year. More in my domain. I'm not sure how I feel yet about other people bumping me off the road.
It's fine, honestly. It's just somebody else to blame, basically.
Well, that's true.
So,
that is true. Normally I have a co-driver for that, though. That's what I'm used to.
Here we go. So we had a message come in from Nextbox, and I love this. So Nextbox, thanks for the message. Said enjoyed having us commentate, which is a great pleasure. And in fact said didn't overcook the corner. He said I was punted from behind. So we'll have to see whether the stewards are on that one or not. But I love it when you guys get in touch. Joe as well, this is like the real driver. So I once said that Timo Scheider had turned into somebody off the start. Timo filmed his onboard and sent it to me on WhatsApp before the next show. He's like, I didn't turn into him, mate. So
it's your pride. It's your driver's pride.
But it is, absolutely. I think we're so lucky to have that access to the drivers in the World Championship that they genuinely will. They'll send you a message going, no, I didn't, mate. And I will take that all day long.
Yeah.
As commentators, you make a decision on what you think you've seen in an instant, and you have to make that. I think if it's going to be fun commentary, you've got to have an opinion. Go for it. If you get it wrong, it doesn't matter. We've gone for it, and we're hearing people say, no, I was punted from behind. So we'll see. Will it be enough for a penalty? Will it be enough to make the difference? We're not sure. So have we got some results? I did hear somebody speaking to us. Yeah. Okay. Right. We're having a yes. This is provisional, and it will be clarified by the time we get to the semi-finals. But these are the results as it stands. Let's have a look. So, on the Steam platform, is this in order from top to bottom? These are these are the 5 going through. Okay, bottom 2 are the fastest. So Nigel Cross and Thomas Albeck Poulsen, our fastest drivers on the Steam platform. Lucas Mateja makes it, Nigel Cross makes it as well, and Thomas Albeck Poulsen. So some very quick drivers there. Look, 2 of the No Control team have gone through using the hashtag No Control on their team names. And we've got 2 from RSR Serene Logic as well. So great to see. Those are our 5 who've made it through to the semi-finals.
We're
hearing
saying
they're
there,
not
aren't
right.
they? Yeah.
We're hearing they're not right. Okay, what? The bottom 2 we think are not correct. Okay.
Lucas has made it, though.
Who have we got, sorry? Unip, we're saying. Okay.
Fastest qualifier for Unip.
Okay, we did see Unip was right. I have to say it was 9 races ago, so apologies for us. So we'll get. Are we going to get that corrected and have another look at that? I think we probably will. You can feel free to. There we are. Come back. So it's all right. It's all good. Stay calm.
Yeah.
Stay, particularly Unip. Stay calm.
The amount of times it's actually happened in rally as well, when the live results go up, I'll be in my little R2 car, and there'll be me in front of everybody at the top in the R5s. It'll be like, I don't want them to collect that stage time. I'll take it.
My best one ever was a 40 timing screen at Silverstone, British Rallycross. Peugeot Sport came across to do the first round for practice because a bit ahead of the race. So there was Loeb, Hansen. I can't remember who else was on that. But anyway, Sebastian Loeb and Timmy Hansen. But above them was Andrew Coley in a Suzuki Swift.
No.
Yeah, but obviously it was incorrect.
I hope you took a screenshot of that, though.
No, luckily Eric Farren, who's a spotter for Hanson's and runs his own team as well. Farren, who runs a load of RX2 cars, actually. Eric sent me a screenshot going, wow, mate, you are fast. Because I hadn't seen it, of course. I was out in the car struggling desperately to get around a very wet and slippery track. But I got the screenshot through and I was like, okay, I'll take that.
I would say that's one of those times you just take it. You walk away from it. No questions asked.
I was at the top of I was ahead of Loeb and Hansen. You know, whether it's incorrect or not doesn't matter. The graphics said it was true. So
tick that one off your bucket list.
Yeah, right, I'm going to have it framed, basically. Okay, occasionally we get it wrong with the graphics. Apologies. The guys are across it now. Do we think that one's correct now? Are we looking at that and saying it's right? The race street. Yes! We're getting a thumbs up. So are the fastest 2 at the bottom. So apologies to the 2 that I said we're going through. I'm afraid you're not. And well, there you go. Daniel Johansson goes through. 2-2-1. Then we've got Unipack. What was it? Top 2 duplicated, and I didn't even notice I'd read the same names out twice.
Yeah.
So there was me saying it was the same team name and the same drivers, and I'd read the same name twice. That goes to show you just how stupid I am, doesn't it, at home?
9 races, though. It's a lot for you to take in, Andrew.
Yeah, exactly. It was a long time ago. So Daniel Johansson and Unipack can go through. Then we've got Lucas Mateja and Nigel Cross and Thomas Albeck-Poulsen. They are the 5 from Steam who are going through to make it to the semi-final. Top 2, remember, make it to the final. Next up then, Wesley Wickens, Kilian Del Olmo, Alexandra Huss, Martin Limu and Quinten Del Olmo. They are going through on the PlayStation. There are 5 semi-finalists there. And then we're waiting for the last one. Xbox, Chris Dapsusfils has made it.
He did make it, the Latvian.
So the Latvian is going to be racing at home in Latvia. Bikaniecki, he's on the organising team. Dorian Baptiste, DB04 makes it. Bjorn Hackinson's done enough. Dave Marshall and Dean Wilson as well. So they are our 15 semi-finalists, and we'll be racing them off later on tonight. Let me have a look and see.
I think we're starting at 8.
What time?
It
is.
8,
Target time of 8 p.m. is the start for that one. So you'll be able to join us for that. I'm just trying to see. Yeah, we've got anything else to go through? I think we've got. No, that's it. We're good. So yes, 8 p.m. We're going to be doing the semi-finals. So top 2 from each of those semi-finals will be going through. We'll have our finalists for the Rallycross side of things by 9 p.m. tonight. So 8 p.m. UK. That's 9 p.m. Central European time. If you're watching from Europe, if you're watching from Latvia, supporting our Latvian friend, that will be 10 p.m. So you'll have to stay off the beers for just an hour longer, or actually just watching the pub, I suppose, on your phone. That's the beauty of it, isn't it? Katie Munnings, thank you very much indeed. Great job, of pleasure as well. And we will see you guys at 8 p.m. Cheers.
Rallycross.